how's it going? Jakka-B here and welcome back to my tutorial series. This is my tutorial on vocal processing. We're going to be looking at how you can fatten up vocals a little bit, brighten them up in the mix. First of all, sorry for missing last month's tutorial. I recorded a hard side tutorial, the video file became corrupt and I just completely lost motivation and I didn't have the time to do another one. So I've skipped that one. I'm going to come back to that and instead this is the vocal processing one now. So we're going to jump in. Here we go. Hello and welcome. You are now inside the mothership. This is FL Studio 20 for those that aren't familiar with it. So I've got a very simple sort of layout here of some chords which I bounce to audio, and then some effects which I just dropped in from another project to save time, and they sound like this. So I've lowered the tempo from 170 to 160 just for this tutorial because the original tempo of this is 120 and it just felt like there was a bit more character at 160 than 170, speeding up so much. It's in the key of A minor, which is the same key I used in an earlier tutorial on chords and also leads. So if you are following along, you'll be able to kind of follow along with that, I guess, somehow. Okay, so the vocal we've got is in key, as I've just said, but it's not in time. So at the moment, it's...
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want to do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
So it's not in time at the moment. I know it's 120 BPM, which makes life a lot easier when you're stretching vocals. So I'm going to go to fit to tempo. Type in BPM and 120, and then if you are on FL, you can change the way that it stretches. So I've already got it here mode. By standard it'll go to auto, but if you go to speech it just retains some transients that you don't always get otherwise. So that's a tip if you're on FL Studio and you're stretching vocals, to put the mode into speech. I find it works a little bit better for vocals. So we're going to check if it's in time now, and I'm going to put the metronome on just to double check.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want to do is hold you now.
Yeah, so you can tell from that it's in time, so that's great. So I've already got the channel strip on the go. Everything in there is currently at default, and I'm going to run through how and why I do what I do to get the end result. So at the moment, the vocal, it's out of a pack. And a splice pack, any sample pack now. Generally, the quality of vocals are pretty good. They're not like the, there's got like stuff. It's not ripped out of vinyl or ripped out another track or anything like that. So, the quality-wise, it's already quite good, but it doesn't fit into the mix that I've done. So that's kind of what I want to do, and that's kind of processing and everything behind the reasoning behind what I'm going to be doing in this tutorial is to get it to fit into this mix. And that does mean kind of some EQ, saturation, more EQ, compression, and then effects such as reverb, delay. Okay, so we're going to start by adding an EQ. I'm going to solo the vocal for the rest of the process.
I know you're telling me you're...
So this here is based on like an analog EQ. It's really, really good. The left-hand side is an EQ. The right-hand side is a compressor. So there's a really good preset which I tend to go for. It's called lead vocals, and I just adapt it. So I'm going to first start by bypassing the compressor because I don't need it. I'm just using this side. I like this. It gives me a very different kind of sound to like the Pro Q. I can't explain it, but it's like a kind of more gritty, kind of harsh EQ, I guess, that I just don't know why I can't get this same sound out of the Pro Q, probably because of the algorithms behind it. But it's very harsh, so that's like a +6 gain there is way too much. So
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want to do is hold you now.
It's boosted there around about 3,000–4,000 hertz as well, which is quite nice.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want
to leave that there. And then there's also quite a high boost there around just under 1,500 hertz. So what's that? 1,300. And then a low end boost as well. So it doesn't sound like it's done a lot, but it actually, in the mix, it has.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want to do is hold.
It's just brought out some characteristics of the vocal which weren't there before. Next up, I add inflator, which I use this on loads of stuff. So it's suitable not just for vocals, for like bass lines, leads. I mean, literally, it's a great plugin for like kind of just adding a little something extra to a sound. So I click the 0 dB off, it's just not needed. That here seems to be the maximum, that gives it extra like harmonic content, I guess. That kind of gives it like a high end, and that kind of gives it a low end when you go down. But I'm going to leave that at just 0 for now so I can stop playing it.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you.
So even when I put it on its harshest setting on anything, I don't usually put it on any more than like 40. I'm not going to bang it right up for this, because once I've added another saturator, EQ, compression, that then effect then is a lot harsher. So everything I do is kind of subtle, because at the end it'll all add up to one kind of tuned effect essentially.
Now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your.
Bring that volume down. Stop bringing the volume down.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is.
Next up is Decapitator, which is a really, really good plugin. So I've kind of got a little vocal setting here. If you've got it, then feel free to kind of copy that. If you haven't, there's loads of other saturators on the market which kind of do a similar thing. I find this one cool just because it's kind of like an analog emulation. Again, it just gives I like the way you can change the tones, and also the type of saturation or distortion you're putting onto it as well, which is really, really nice. So there's two that I tend to go for on this, which is A and E, and they both give very different sounds. It does depend on the kind of vocal I'm working with. And that's the same for all of these, really. I don't always necessarily go that harsh on that EQ, but for this vocal, it kind of seems okay. So yeah, this is the second kind of stage of saturation on the vocal.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling.
Okay, so that is really, really subtle. It's not doing a huge amount, because once I've added the compression on, that effect will kind of come out a little bit more. Next up, I'm actually going to add I'm going to move that up. I'm going to put the compression on next. So this is a Native Instruments compressor, although the settings I use can be applied to any compressor. There's nothing special about this really. I just kind of like it for vocals. I don't know why. I think I found a good preset and then just changed it. So there's a backing vocal preset on there, which I will just let me mute it and I'll show you.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is.
So it's not too harsh. I don't like overly compressing vocals too much because they don't sound very natural. So with this one, I'm just going to adjust some of the settings so that it is compressed, but it's not like slammed. And then I'm going to show you another compressor, which I'm going to add now actually, and then I'll show you kind of a much harsher compressor and what that can do. So first of all, I'll show you the compression on this one, backing vocals.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you.
So that's it with it off.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all.
And this is with the compression on.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the.
So that's added with all the various effects. There is some EQ that needs doing now, but first of all, let me just show you a much harsher style of compression using the multiband compressor.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
So it's not really suitable for this sound, but I just wanted to show you kind of like the difference between more subtle compression, which is the solid bus compression, and then one of the kind of vocal presets on the multiband compressor, which kind of just slams it, which is why you can hear like the white noise from the silence. So I mean, I have used this, but it depends on the kind of style vocal you've got. It's maybe not the best to just use that preset. You probably need to adjust the thresholds, etc. So yeah, that's why I tend to go for a more subtle compression. There's other ones like OTT as well, which kind of work on vocals. But yeah, this is the kind of my go-to, I guess, for subtle compression on vocals.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
And finally, I'm going to add some EQ. There's a very fine line with vocals between kind of having them like too bright and to the point where they're like kind of tinny, or too dull, and then also kind of whether you've taken too much low end out and they again sound like quite tinny. With the added kind of effects there is a little bit of high end that's kind of crept in.
There's a way to stop this, show me how.
I'm big fan of, so I'm going to EQ that out.
Ow. But all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way, me you're leaving. But all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me. All I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound.
And that's just helped to kind of tame some of the like highs that have come through slightly. And I'm going to do another low as well.
I know you're telling me you're leaving.
Because everything under there is kind of pointless, really. You've got the low end of the pads coming through, and like I said, I don't want to.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is.
You kind of don't want to take the body out of it, and equally with that.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
It's just tamed like a few frequencies. It's maybe a little bit too much, actually.
I know you're telling me you're. All I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me.
Let's play it with the chords now.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want.
And then if I play it without the effects.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
So with some reverb and delay, that should start to come through quite nicely. I've just set up an Arts acoustic here. So I'm going to play that with the chords to kind of give it some context.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is.
So put that onto open, which just seems to have a kind of nicer effect on some vocals.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me.
Taking the low end out of the reverb as well. Sorry, out of the vocal up to about 450.
Leaving, but all I wanna do is hold.
And then the high end, I'm going to bring that down there as well.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear.
So it depends on the kind of effects you want to go for, really. But it's kind of somewhere between like 3 and then like 4.23. I usually kind of have my decay between. So let's have a listen to it with everything playing.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
And that sounds really nice now with that in there. And I'm going to add some delay also. Sometimes I put the delay onto the send channel, and other times I put it onto the main channel after the compressor, which is what I've done today.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do.
Round 4. Again, with the delay, I'd also take the low end out, so it's not echoing below kind of 200 hertz. And then same it here as well, probably leave a bit more high end in, so maybe like 10, 11, 12.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
And then actually here I'd bring the dry wet down, so it's only on about 25-30%.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me how.
And also, like, sometimes what I'll do is I'll automate the reverb so that it's not always on. So for instance, when there's a lot of vocal, like not necessarily this one but on other tracks, I'd potentially turn the vocal off and then have it kind of coming in like this. So it might be just on ever so slightly here, maybe like 10%, say.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
So you kind of have the delay really only kicks in once the vocal finishes, as opposed to kind of being along there. So that's entirely up to you. That's just something I kind of do here and there on vocal tracks. I don't always do it on everything, but yeah. So we've got kind of like the basics in now. There's just something else I'd like to do, and that's just to double this vocal up, because there's quite a cool effect you can do just to kind of make the vocal sound a lot fatter in the mix as well. So I'm just going to mute the main vocal for a sec.
I know you're telling me.
And this now vocal is just completely dry again, just like the last one. What I've got in here is two things. The first one is an isotope plugin called Vocal Doubler, which I picked up for free. I don't know if it's still free now, but yeah, it's really good. I like it. So I'll show you what that does, and that kind of just gives the vocal kind of like almost like a chorusy effect. You could add a chorus, actually. You don't have to necessarily add a vocal doubler, but this one, because it's specifically for vocals, kind of does have a nice effect when it comes to getting the effect you like.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show.
So you can hear the effect now. If I play that with it on, and then I'll mute it halfway through so you can see the difference.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to...
So you can tell it kind of like doubles the vocal up, which is the kind of idea of it. So we'll play it with this one.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is...
So with this vocal as well, it's dry, so there's no compression. There's no saturation, no other effects or anything like that, and sometimes I quite like that. So that's a really natural kind of version of the vocal, except it's got chorus on it. You could always route it into this channel here, so it goes through all the effects.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart.
So I kind of like that. Another thing you can do as well, which I don't always do, is I'm just going to reroute it a sec.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I want
is to kind of take the low end out of it, so it's only the high end.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
Go. So yeah, that's kind of like one very kind of brief way of how I do my vocal processing, and also kind of look at ways of fattening it up as well. You can also try some distortion on a layer. So if you're making something that's like slightly harder, maybe like a hard style track or something with like a slightly darker vocal, rather than adding the vocal doubler and the EQ, you could always add a distortion plugin in instead. So I really like Isotope Trash. I think it's a great plugin. I'm just going to kind of see how we get on with that, and we're going to distort this vocal a little bit.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound.
So it's only the dry vocal playing at the moment.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is
Probably needs a bit of EQ on that actually, because the way I've distorted it, so I'm going to add one in.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the.
And you can see from that there, if I play it with and without the distorted vocal, it gives it just a kind of like toughness.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound.
And that's an effect that you won't really, that won't necessarily work on every track, or it might not even fit your style of production. But it is something quite cool you can do just to kind of like layer vocal up. So I'll try that with the vocal doubler as well. I'm going to have to move that lower down the chain because I don't want the doubling effect to be affected by the distortion.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is.
So yeah, that sounds quite cool now. It sounds definitely, it's much bigger in the mix than it was previously. If I play it before we had any effects or anything on, you can just hear it sounds, it's a well-recorded vocal, but it just doesn't fit into the mix in the same way.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this.
And then we're going to route that one through there just finally, see what that sounds like.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this.
I don't know if I like that. I think I prefer it going through there actually. Ooh.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating.
Okay, so yeah, that is in essence one way of kind of, for anyone that's not had much experience of working with vocals, or wanted to know a little bit more about kind of fattening your vocals up in the mix. That's one way of doing it. I mean, you could duplicate that channel, so you had like one main vocal channel, one with the doubler, and then one with distortion possibly, or you can always like detune it so that one's an octave lower and one's an octave higher. So kind of like this.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heartbeat.
Up an octave like that.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do.
That does not sound that good, to be honest, but you know, there's different options there as well, so you can get it. You can kind of try loads of different things. So yeah, it's EQ, saturation kind of ×2, compression, more EQ just to tame some frequencies, followed by a delay, and then on a bus channel I've got an Arts Acoustic reverb as well. So yeah, that's kind of it really, very basic. And then on this channel I've got yeah, depending on what you want to do, you could have just isotope doubler and then an EQ, or you could have isotope trash then an EQ, or you could have all three there. That's got the real low cut, so I've muted that one off. So yeah,
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but.
And that's pretty much it on vocal processing. Hopefully now I'll be able to get back into doing some tutorials. I had a few issues with like recording and video files and stuff like that, but I've got some content coming real soon and a serum pack on its way. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys soon, hopefully.